Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to go ahead and review some important concepts from Chapter 2, Section 2.1 of your textbook, which is dealing with being able to identify various types of fractions. So let's talk a little bit about the terms that are associated with fractions, and then we're going to play a little game where we're kind of identifying what type of fraction it is. So, the first type of fraction that we think of is a common or proper fraction. Basically, fractions as well as decimals and percents are all parts of a whole number. And we'll be talking more about decimals and percentages in later chapters. But basically, what I want you to remember is that a common or proper fraction is less than a whole unit. It's a part of it. And the numerator, when we write a fraction, is a number that is less than the denominator. And just kind of to go over the terminology that's here, I've written numerator. Numerator tells you how many you have. The denominator tells you how many pieces are in the whole. So if I would write a number such as 5/7, what that's telling me is that the whole consists of 7 pieces and we have 5 of them. So this, because the numerator is smaller than the denominator, it means that it is a common or proper fraction. Other examples would be 2/3. 15/21. Notice in all of these, the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So then our next important term is what we call an improper fraction. An improper fraction is a fraction where the numerator is the same as or higher than the denominator. So if I have a fraction such as 6/6. If you remember and you watched the previous video, I had told you to think of this fractional line as a division problem. If we would divide 6 into 6, we'd come up with 1. So, whenever we have a number divided by itself, it's always 1 or the whole. So if I have 15 divided by 15, or 15/15, I have 1 whole. If I have 2/2, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So this represents, when we see a fraction such as this, an improper fraction. But we can also have a fraction that looks like 7/6 or 9/5. Notice with these, the denominator is smaller than our numerator. And we're going to be talking more about what to do when we see these types of fractions once we start adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing them. But for now, our focus is on just being able to identify the different types of fractions. So we know now that anything that is the same, where the numerator is the same as the denominator, or the numerator is larger than the denominator, those are called improper fractions. Finally, our last type of term that we need to be aware of with fractions are mixed numbers. A mixed number is made up of a whole number, and we just did a whole chapter on whole numbers. So it's something where we have maybe 5 with then a proper fraction. So 5 2/3, 7 1/5. Notice with these examples here, we have our whole number, and attached to it is a proper fraction where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So just to do a couple more to see if you can identify which type it is. If I gave you something that looks like this, 5 1/9, what type of fraction is it? Proper, improper, or mixed? Hopefully we said mixed. If I gave you something that looks like 7/7, what type of fraction is that? Well, we know it equals 1, and we also know that it is an improper fraction. And then last but never least, we should be able to notice that when we have something that looks like this, it's what we call a proper fraction. So in this video, we focused on learning about the different types of fractions and what they mean.